You're listening to the Grit to Growth podcast. Real talk with real business owners and professionals who built their freedom the hard way and now want more time, money, and impact.
Hello and welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Levi with Mailbox Money here in Sioux Falls. And today we're talking about something that affects every business and every growing community, people. My guest today is Denise Guzzetta, Vice President of Talent and Workforce at the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. Denise works closely with employers, educators, and community leaders to help organizations think long-term about talent, skills, and sustainable growth. Denise, thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Levi.
Yes, we are very excited to have you here and learn a little bit more about what you and the Sioux Falls Development Foundation are doing. So let's start with the you side of things. Can you kind of give people your personal background and what led you to doing what you are today?
Yeah, so back in 2018, I was working at a very large chemical company. I had spent pretty much my career between the public and then the private, world and finance, and went to a chemical company during that time and loved it. Had a lot of great partners. One of those partners brought me into this current situation that I'm in now, told me about this opportunity, said that they really needed somebody that could put infrastructure, look at programming, really just develop a good strategy around how do you embrace all of these things that we need that are all work related and workforce related, but do that from a very high level and then could get really down into the weeds. And so that's as simple as it is. That's how I started.
So, would you mind telling where you grew up and how you ended up finding that job that brought you to Sioux Falls?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Northern Virginia, and I spent my first 23 years there, loved it. Met my husband, we moved out to Minneapolis. That's where our girls were born in 2007. So we have twin girls. They are now seniors in high school,
Oh boy.
graduating. Yeah, so
You're
busy
coming up on a
time,
busy season then, yeah. A
very
couple
busy.
more months, huh?
Couple more months, and then they're going to leave the nest. But we did that, and my husband had the opportunity to visit a friend in Sioux Falls, and so made the decision very quickly to move into a company here about 14 years ago. And from there, we just transitioned and came into this world and have been here since.
Good. I'm glad you get to call Sioux Falls home. Um, so let's get into what your kind of work is and what that means to you, and maybe give us start with what's kind of your daily responsibilities.
Yeah, so as the Vice President of Talent and Workforce for the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, the Sioux Falls Development Foundation is an economic entity that drives our community forward. And we're looking at how do we increase the tax base? How do we increase and have more skilled and qualified workers, right? And
Mhm.
so my role is very much centered around workforce and people. And how do we get anywhere from our early, those elementary and middle schools and then high schools, but then going through college. What is our programming like? What are we doing to really solidify that Sioux Falls is a great place to live and work, be educated? And so you think about all of those kind of pieces there, and then it takes, up into the workforce where we're looking at what do we need to do to remain employable? And
Mhm.
technology is a big part of that. So I would say on a day-to-day basis, I'm working with a lot of different business partners. We do a lot of programming here, but we also have programming that exists within the colleges, within our individual employers, that really kind of comes and shapes out my day. So my day is never boring. It's always looking forward to just engaging more people.
That's amazing. So you guys really take it from a full on approach from young kids to all the already the workforce involved. Would you mind giving some examples what you're doing in the schools?
Yeah. So we have 14 programs overall. And so when we start talking about what we're doing in the school, and we're talking about primary and secondary education, we have programs like the Your Future STEM. We know that STEM careers are just going to continue to drive economic growth and also, continue to like increase the wages. So if you're looking at anything from your scientists, your researchers, your mathematicians, your engineers, your nurses, your doctors, people that are in the advanced manufacturing. So we're pulling all of that into a program and all those career opportunities and getting those kids exposed early on and getting them really excited. And we do that through the lens of projects.
Nice.
Because if we were to say to you, do you want to be an engineer? Most people would say, well, no, I don't know what engineers do. So we
Nope.
help them understand what do engineers do? What do people in construction do? What do people in manufacturing? What do people in finance? I mean, I shared with you a little bit ago that, I started my career in the financial services industry. So what does that look like? So you do that all through the lens of these projects and really kind of immersive experiences where you get kids to work on these things and then you connect them with employers and then they can kind of build those relationships. And then that's how the attraction part starts through the lens of a development. And then you just continue that on into high school. And in high school, we do a lot of tours with businesses. We also have a program that we created here called Career Connections, something that we started in 2018 that has just been transformational in terms of the outcomes of what it delivers in a community. So what that program in itself looks like is we say, okay, we want to make sure that when everybody leaves high school, they're going to have a plan in place. They're going to have an idea of what they want next. And that's
Yeah.
going to look very differently for a lot of different people. Some people will want to go directly into college. Some people will want to go directly into a tech school. Some people will want to go directly into an employer. And the thing is that's all great. How do we help facilitate that? How do we then get the training and the education, all of those components, especially when you're looking at the rate of change with technology and how that just continues, the digital processes and all this stuff just continues to shape the way we work. So, um, and then we just continue on, when kids are in college or in tech school or working, how do we then continue to send that message? We want you here. We value you. And we look at opportunities just to increase the training there.
Do you guys work with like the university center then here in town and
We
everything?
do. Yeah.
That
So we
that's
work
awesome.
with all of the universities throughout the state of South Dakota, but we really concentrate on the core that's right here, the University Center that you're mentioning, which is part of USD, which is a great partner. We also have Augustana that's right here in our community.
Hmm.
We have USF that's in our community, just really great business partners. And then we look at in the region, we have DSU, we have SDSU, of course, USD. So
Very good. I would like to ask you, you were talking about the projects and everything. Is there a really fun and exciting one that you can think of that the kids do that one you're excited about, but you could see on their faces that they love this project?
absolutely. So, we're coming into 2026 and in 2025, we took the Your Future STEM and we kind of segmented it a little bit differently to reach out, because this whole regional approach here, where we're having to work with a lot of our schools that are in Garrickson and Brandon and Harrisburg and T. And so one of the things that really kind of warms my heart is to think about what we did over 2 days within Brandon. We went into their middle school. We worked with their sixth graders and their seventh graders, and we did this community building project where we actually said, as you grow up in Brandon, you're going to see a lot of changes, and we want you to understand what those changes could be. So we talked about how do you get and build infrastructure around when you're adding 5,000, because we're roughly adding about 5,000 people every
Yeah.
year to our community. So what does that, look like in terms of needing more hospitals and more retailers and just more schools, and took them through the different challenges of how do you get clean water? How do you build buildings? Um, how do you look at utilities and things like that? And it was so exciting because the kids were, you think about you're in school, it's at the end of the school, so it's in May of last year,
Hmm.
but they were so thrilled. And all the professionals that we had that walked alongside of us for that 2 day period, it was just outstanding. So the aftermath of that, and what I really loved seeing, was how they then took all of the information that they were given and they then came up with their plans. And they talked about things like, well, what if we're to explore nuclear energy? What would that look like? What about adding more, wind power here? And so they were really thinking outside the box. And that's what you want. That's that kind of
Yeah.
inquisitive curiosity that drives them forward. But really having that here and having that touch point occur early, and then they're then going to be leaving and going into high school where they can further sort of satiate that need, and then into college or into a working situation where they can further, like, add that value and bring that experience forward. That's just amazing. So that happened. The other thing that we've been doing, and we're now going to have our fourth, is we do this a STEM camp at Augustana where we
Okay.
take 120 kids per day. We do it over 2 days. So each day we have a different set of kids that are coming in, but we just immerse them in biology and chemistry and physics and really kind of sow that seed of what's possible, so they can help kind of visualize what my life could look like.
A little bit
Because
more fun than doing textbook
Oh,
problems and
for
everything.
sure. And it brings out, sort of that experience that we all wanted to have, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and the why behind why we're doing this is we have to start early. We have to get the kids to be excited about all of these areas where they're going to have more math and more science. And by the time they're in high school, if they're not on that path, then there's a lot of opportunity that's lost. It's not lost forever, but it takes a lot to kind of turn and get things kind of on that progressive path. So we're
For
doing it
sure.
early. We have a lot of businesses. We are like you, we have investors. And so if you look at the 300 plus investors in Ford Sioux Falls, it's just really our way to give back and really add to what they're doing, and then help build that talent pipeline so that we can then say, 6 years from now, these kids are going to be graduating from high school. 4 years after that, they may be graduating from college. So just
Hmm.
continuing to kind of keep that pipeline really kind of just good, qualified, and just well designed.
I think it's a great program, and I think kind of the results in Sioux Falls, it shows. I mean, we're always among the nation's lowest unemployed, even through the trying times where the nation's part of the lowest unemployment rate. Is there anything that you've kind of seen that we have good business leaders, or what do you think attributes to that unemployment rate?
Oh, absolutely. I always say the Sioux Falls advantage truly is how just collaborative the business community truly is. If you look at Ford Sioux Falls and the fact that you have all of these investors that come along and they say, we're going to agree on these community initiatives, it's quite unique, because it's a private funding option. It's not a public. And so, I've lived and worked in a lot of different countries. I've traveled globally, worked for some very, very large companies in my past, but this is very unique to Sioux Falls, and it's very unique to what I think has been started with all of this. We are here, we're gonna cheer for each other, we're gonna compete, and we're good competitors, but we're looking to build this community and lift up all tides. So very, very impactful. And it starts with the business community. They owe 100% credit to everything that we're doing. And just the success we're seeing with, again, if you look at the career connections and making sure these kids are leaving high school with a plan in place, and then just continuing to grow it. It's just phenomenal.
Great. I've been It's not to ask you, since you do work with the business leader side of things, for anyone listening that way, what's a practical step that they could take in strengthening their talent strategy?
Yeah. I think that the most beneficial thing you can do is really to engage your employees. Um, Set the standard, so when I was coming out of college, it was a very different market, and there was a different set of expectations. So just continue to kind of be with the trends and understand sort of to meet talent where talent's at, right? But then let them in and let them see how you're growing. Let them, into those discussions with big things where they can understand what the cost today is versus the cost 10 years ago and how inflation is impacting your business. I think those are really good conversations. And the more you can build that trust with your employees, you're not going to necessarily, they're not going to stay with you for their entire career. Um, but what you do is you build that trust and then they stay within the community and then you benefit from the fact that they have really positive things to say about your business and the way that you're running things. And so I think that's really very, very impactful.
Yeah,
So.
I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying, even with the natural organic growth through all assets, the beginning, the middle, and the end. I think that sets them up very nicely for that. So, Denise, if people want to learn more about what you guys are doing or see if there's any programs that they would like to get involved with, where would you send them? Is there a place that they can get themselves more educated on?
Yeah. So I'd say reach out to me, Denise Guzzetta it's DENISEG at siouxfalls.com. Pretty easy.
Yep.
Um, and you can always call us. You can stop by our offices. We're here. I would also encourage people that maybe want to be a little bit more involved, get into the Fort Sioux Falls, and learn more about the ways you can participate and all the community programming that's available. And simply you can do a Google search and Fort Sioux Falls, it will come up with a web page. Because we really do. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can help an individual, that we can help a business, because we really are set in a very different community. And this is a very collaborative community, so we welcome all.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad to be a small part of it, and I'm glad to share the stories of those people doing the real work. So we appreciate you coming on and being part of that as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Denise, again, and thank you everyone for listening. We will see you guys on the next one.
Know someone with serious grit and a great growth story? Send them our way at grittogrowthpodcast.com/guest.